Volume.
All right, everybody.
Silent.
Okay, I want to welcome you guys to the PNN Academy Stand Up Comedy Workshop. So, give yourselves a big round of applause for which is which is a cliche thing we do at the comedy club. Might as well start off the workshop that way. And we're gonna get this bad boy clicking and cracking. We got Maria Georgesian in the background doing some photos for us. Thank you, everybody. Give it up. Hands up for Maria. So I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Stephen Kimbrough. I'm a stand-up comedian of 40 years plus or so. I've done colleges and cruise ships and corporate air shows, radio, TV, film. Um, I mean, if there's anything that has been done in the world of stand-up comedy, I've done it. I've owned the comedy club in New York on 39th and Park, and I also own the comedy club in Long Beach on the Queen Mary, which is where I met Will Nave. Welcome.
Thank you.
And so I have been in this game for a minute. I'm currently producing a stand-up comedy documentary film, which is directed by Maria Georgesian. She's in the background. And but today is a 8-week stand-up comedy workshop, which I used to teach in Boston when I lived in Boston. I taught it in New York when I lived in New York. When I came out here, I brought the class out here. But what I found is 8 weeks is a long time, 3 hours a week. A lot of people, they can't commit to that. They have lives, they have tours, they have auditions, they have TV, they got family, they got this, that. And it's one of those things where you don't want to miss a single workshop, because every workshop that you learn helps you put together what you need to put together for the workshops that's coming down the road. So you can't miss one. And so I decided that I would take this 8-week stand-up comedy in program and just jam it into a one-day experience. So I took 90 workshops and just smashed it all in to like a one-day intensive. Now, because of that, we are going to fast forward through a lot of these workshops. However, if you want to come back and drill down into any one of these workshops, then you can do a one-on-one with me. It's a small little fee, and you can just drill down into any one of these workshops that you want on your own, one-on-one with me. We can do a half-hour intensive drill down, and any part of this workshop that you want to punch up or really get into, put your foot all up in it, we can do that. But today is going to be about just exposing you to everything that you need to know to start your stand-up comedy career right off the bat, so that you hit the ground running. You know some do's, you know some don'ts, and you'll save about 3 or 4, maybe even 5 years of effort on your comedy career, because you've got a blueprint on what you need to do and where you need to go. I've created a comedy Bible which outlines all of these workshops. For taking this as a PDF, you can then use this for the rest of your life to develop your material and your act and put everything that you need to put together, including the business side of it. I also created the Kimbrough Planner, the comedy planner, and that maps out the year, 365 days, and every day there's an assignment for you to do something that helps move your career along. So I'm very excited to be here and get this bad boy kicked off, and I'm excited that we've got Will Nave, who's a comedian of 30 plus years, right?
About 25.
25. Don't age me.
You know what I'm saying?
Come on, man.
I know I'm bald,
like-
but this is ridiculous.
I know I'm me old, but I'm not you old.
You know what I'm saying? I'm a classic man,
but I'm not ancient.
You know what I'm saying? But I don't feel ancient. I feel way younger, man.
Still got a two-step, bro.
You know what I'm saying? I got a mean two-step one. Shoot, watch out. But all that other stuff they be doing, they just freaking out on stage. Like, hey, is he okay? He ain't having a seizure, is he?
Okay, for those of you who, let me just swing my PTZ. That's Dorian here. That's joined us. Dorian, good for coming out.
Yeah, thank you.
And I can't wait to get you into this. This is Will right here. Will, say hi to the folks.
Hey, what's going on, y'all?
And by the way, we are at kind of the Godfather booth here at the Michelli's restaurant. And so first of all, I love the food here. Joe Michelli and Frank Michelli are the Michelli brothers that own 2 restaurants here in Hollywood. And I play softball with Joe, and we developed a very strong relationship. And I love drinks, and I love the food. And I was like, man, can I come here and teach my comedy workshop and hang out and do movies and podcasts? He's like, man, come on down and, do what you need to do. We'll throw you a couple of pies, and you guys can have some fun with your comedy workshop. So Joe and Frank, thank you very much for hosting the PNN Academy stand-up comedy workshop right here in the dining room of the Michelli's, which is right across the street from Universal Studios. This is a big tourist attraction restaurant. They've been here since 1949. This restaurant has been in commercials, TV shows, movies, hundreds of appearances on all kinds of stuff. They are very iconic in the Hollywood almanac, if you will, of location shoots, and I'm proud to say that the PodBrother can be added to that Hollywood historical location for being able to shoot my podcast, do my stand-up comedy workshops, and I even can do my podcast here, which we've done a couple already, and at the other location in Hollywood is they have a basement banquet area set up that we can even do our comedy shows down there. So Michelli Brothers, mad love. Thank you very much for allowing me to come down here and host my workshop. So I really, really appreciate that. And if you guys get a chance, please come down here and check us out. So real quick, we'll just go around the room and just say, introduce yourself and what makes you laugh. Who's funny, who's your funny kind of mentor, go-to person, and why you're interested in learning stand-up comedy with the PNN Academy stand-up comedy workshop. So let's go with Dorian. You're in the middle, and grab that microphone.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right. Hi, my name is Dorian. Comedians that I like are like Hart, Dave Chappelle. There's some that like Bill Burr.
Speak a little louder.
Bill Burr, Kevin Hart, like Dave Chappelle. Now I see a lot of Instagram comedians like they just 30-second clips on Instagram or Facebook or something. So, and there's somebody popping up. I don't know who's who, but there'll be something there that I find funny. And I just want to do this workshop because I like humor. I like to laugh. So if I could be around it more, then more opportunities to have some fun.
Awesome. Okay, Will, let me slide this around. This is reverse. I always have to remember. Okay, Will, who's some of your mentors, your favorite comics, and you've been in the game for 25 years, but why do you feel it's important that you should, take a comedy workshop to just, kind of up your game a little bit to the next level?
Some of my people that I looked up to, Richard Pryor, that's what made me want to start, comedy, Eddie Murphy, and I always liked making people laugh, being a class clown. I mean, the first thing I did was I remember 3 years old. My mom worked so hard. She had like 2 jobs. And I'll see my mom come in the house from work and she'd just be exhausted. I say, Mom, let me make you laugh. And the first 2 impressions I did was Gandhi and Dr. Ruth at 3 years old. No joke, man. For real. And I'd had the characters. I was doing voice impressions at 3, and I remember getting out the bathtub, and that's when I did Gandhi, because I used to wrap a sheet around me. and my white auntie, she gave me these little specks, And I'd be like, look at me, I'm Gandhi. I am Gandhi, and I didn't even see the Gandhi movie, but I just thought he spoke like he was Indian, so I did an Indian voice, And then Dr. Ruth, I used to have to ask permission because Dr. Ruth, she said ass, and so I was like, Mom, it's okay if I say ass? She said, Go ahead, boy, go ahead, say it, do it, do it. I said, This is Dr. Ruth. Today we are going to talk about the ass. And I used to have my mom cracking up. So it was my audience was my mom and my sister, you know. And like I said, with comedy, man, you never stop learning. And I've been hungry since day one, you know. And a lot of the comedians, like I said, I look up to Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, George Carlin, Dave Chappelle, Stephen Kimbrough, just so many greats, and everybody, and it's like a mixing pot. You put it together, and everybody has something to say, something to add. Paul Mooney, just writers being able to just work and having the opportunity, and it's a blessing to be able to do that. You never stop learning. I'm always learning. 25 years, this year, and I'm still hungry. Like I just walked on stage.
You do a great Paul Mooney, Bernie Mac. How do you what's your approach for being able to do an impression? Do you study them for hours, and then do you listen to them for hours, and then you record yourself, you mock them, you study all their details, you listen very carefully, you practice your voice? Like, what's the process of learning how to do like a Bernie Mac or a Paul Mooney? Because you're spot dead on with both of those characters, and every time you do them, it makes me laugh. What's the process that you use to develop those voices and those characters?
The key is just, for me, just listen to them. Listen, pay attention to their body language. And when you do that, that was something that always worked for me. It's just saying something that they say. And then after I figure out some of the words they say, I say, all right, well, let me make them say something else. Let me throw them somewhere. Let me put them somewhere, And the more I do it, I picked up doing Bernie Mac back in I want to say 2000. We were in traffic, in the car. I'm driving. My buddy Mike was in the car with me, and we in traffic, and I'm like, man, get on my way. You know what I'm saying? And he said, dude, do that again, man. You sound like Bernie Mac. I was like, quit playing, man. He said, no, do it again. I said, come on, lay in my way. Man, people can't drive. People can't drive, man. And just you sit there trying to get over, man. You see my blinker, lady. You know what I'm saying? You be bullshitting. Let me say, man, I'm telling you, man. And then I just realized, I was like, okay, when I thought about it, I said, okay, the more I do it, I'm like, okay, he sounds like he's running out of breath when he speaks. Mm-hmm. He sounds like he has asthma. Mm-hmm. So I had asthma as a kid, so I'm like, okay, well, that's going to be easy. I'm trying to breathe here. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. He will say a couple of words. You see what I'm saying? And then he bucks his eyes. You see what I'm saying? So body language, just mannerisms. When you do those mannerisms, and I just work on it, and next thing you know, I do improv, and that's what makes it so awesome, because doing improv, you create your own material, but you take that person and you put them in another element, something that you would never seen them do. I did Bernie Mac as a math teacher. Welcome to see you for touring right here. He had 5 apples. And his girlfriend had 2 apples. And the killer, how many apples would they have? You laughing. You must rather go to the principal. Come on now. Come on. Don't be looking at me like that. I'll write this referral. So they have 7 apples, right? 7. Okay. Got 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 6, 7. So, just throwing them out there, and it's just awesome to be able to do that, man. And when you do that, that also makes people be like, man, it makes you think. And you take that character, and I was always able to do that. And I just listen, man, listen, body language, and just paying attention. And I just, it's a gift, man. It's a God given gift. And
Is that the
I
same
love
approach you do for Paul Mooney?
Paul Mooney. I just started listening to Paul a lot. And when I did that, I just really started paying attention to his mannerisms, how he, you know, he's really relaxed, he's comfortable with the audience, but he is very intelligent, very well spoken. He can relate to any crowd. He's bold. He's never afraid to say anything. He doesn't care how you feel. From what I picked up, he's going to say what he's going to say, and you either like it or you don't like it. You love him or you hate him. But the thing is, people love him. You know, I love him, and I'm sitting there and I'm watching. I'm like, he holds that mic close, and he's so comfortable. So when you get into that character, I'm comfortable. When I do anyone, I'm comfortable. And he just rolls into it. And he's, look, look, I, I tell you, the pandemic, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. People have losing their minds. The pandemic, white people have been going crazy. Yes, yes, they are. I knew they were going crazy. I seen a white lady, yes, and she was walking her baby, and the dog was in the stroller. Oh, oh my goodness! And Brett Favre, yes, he likes food stamps. He's been stealing food stamps, trying to build his daughter a volleyball gymnasium. Oh yes, yes. I tell you, when I see Brett, I'm actually going to ask for some of those food stamps. Yes, yes. It's crazy. It's crazy. The Woman King. The Woman King. Yes. Have you seen that movie? No, no. Terrible movie. Oh, oh. She's a little aggressive, and I try to tell the people, a woman cannot be a king. She can be a queen. Yes. Yeah. I got a better movie. You wanna know that movie? Oh, perfect. The White Negro. Yes. it's about an albino man with exceptional credit. Yes. Yes.
See now what you did there, because you study Paul Mooney, you know his material is always about white and black, and the culture and the conflicts and all of the tension and the comedy and conflict and drama between white and black America, because that's his theme, that's his genre. So when you improv in him, that's the stuff that you pull.
Exactly.
And that's what also makes it funny. That's also part of when you do impressions, observing what they're saying and what their point of view is, because that point of view is going to allow you to improv into where they're coming from. So then when the people are watching you do Paul Mooney, that similarity, that familiarity is what makes them laugh as well, because that's what Paul Mooney would say.
Yeah. What would Paul say?
Yeah. That's hysterical.
Oh man.
Okay, so let's go ahead and dive in and get things cooking here a little bit. So I'm going to pull up my presentation on my deal here, and let's see if this turns into... Okay, so make sure I can see everything okay, how I want to view this. guess the way it's presented. Not sure how we can. Oh, I know what I need to do. I need to do split screen here. So bear with me 1 second. Let me just go ahead and split this screen up. Because I'm like, wait a minute, both screens are like I'm seeing the same thing. Or no.
It was fun, man. I used to have this one. I used to have this one job. We sold like home alarms,
Oh yeah.
and so we were telemarketers. So we'd have the mic, little earpiece and everything, and we used to mess around because whenever we called somebody's house, you know, we do the spiel and everything and read the card and everything. And once we got comfortable, we would remember what we said and everything like that. And whenever we got somebody rude, we'd be like, "Hey, we just got somebody rude." And here's the number.
Yeah.
Everybody write this number down. There's a big, pretty big room with maybe 30 telemarketers in it.
Yeah.
And be like, yeah. One time I called this one house, and the little girl said, "Hey, mommy, I think it's a black guy on the phone." I was like, oh, so they just racist like that. It doesn't matter. Do I sound black to you? I could have sworn I was doing my interview voice, or I'm just professional. Like, how you doing? My name is, Will, and I'm, alarms, and do you have an alarm in your house now? And she's like, and then I think that's when she got, nervous. He asked, "Do we have an alarm?" He's an automatic black man. He's a black man. He's asking, "Do we have an alarm?" He's trying to rob us.
Mom.
He's scoping us out. I see that van across the street. He might be in there. I'm just like. But once we did that and we found out somebody was rude, this one dude, he used to do Macho Man Randy Savage. So we keep calling the house, right, with different voices. This one dude would be like, "Oh yeah. So you don't have an alarm on your house, eh? Snap right through the window and come in there and take all your furniture. I'm watching you, and gonna tell you I'm gonna go into your kitchen and take all of your spoons. And then you won't have cereal in the morning." How about that, huh? Have you ever had to pick up the bowl and just drink your cereal? How about that? Huh? Oh yeah. Let's see who's gonna do good things tomorrow.
Have you seen the short film that's called The Denzels?
No.
It's hysterical. It's four guys, brothers, who do Denzel Washington impersonations.
You know what?
And they're good. Like, each one of them is one of his movies.
Oh yeah.
And they're playing poker.
Wow. A friend of mine does very good Denzel. London Brown. Man, on point.
Yeah. No, I have to get this film. It's hysterical. It's got one where he plays the father with son in the hospital. One where he's the pilot, the drunk pilot, and then Training Day. and then what's the other one? The other one was, but all of them, they're sitting at a poker table, right?
Yeah.
And they're talking to each other. All of them are Denzel.
You see the one where
Okay.
That's one I want to get you too, because I'll be watching it.
I that's one because I have his Hollywood souvenir fake driver's license. I do that in my act, right? So I want to be able to learn his voice, and that's one of the things I want to do a writer's lab with you is help me develop a Denzel Washington voice.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be exact, but close enough to where it sells the bit. Because when I pull out his ID,
and how you do.
yeah, and when the cop comes over to the window, I want to be able to be like, okay. You sure? All right. You got the gun, right? You got the gun. You had the badge. Okay, so I'm studying him, but I haven't drilled down real deep to get him like as close as I possibly can, and I think I can get there with a little work.
Yeah,
So we'll
yeah.
have to talk about that
Yeah,
later.
you have to work
And
on that together.
and I want you to be
Definitely.
involved with the writers lab and doing that, so that you
Definitely.
can kind of understand, like comics that are trying to develop a character. You might think of some nuances that we don't see or we don't hear, that you can be like, oh, he does this tick or he does that tick,
Yeah.
or maybe his voice, you're almost there, but his voice needs to be or this, or
Yeah.
so as a writer, you're going to be all ears and eyes, because you're going to be a sponge, because you're going to absorb the performances that you see so that you can do some reinserts.
Okay.
So, and it's good to have a bank of writers
Yeah.
for the performers, and it's good for you to have a bank of performers that you can kind of write for.
Yeah.
And so when we do that, for my writers lab, you guys are going to be my, my comedians to do the inserts, and the same thing for you. Let's say you're writing something, and then we can then insert into your writing.
Yeah.
That you'd be like, okay, I'm writing this bit for Conan. Can you guys help me flesh it out? So now we're your writer lab rats and helping you sorting out writing.
Yeah.
So you're helping us sorting out performing. We're helping you sort out writing. So that's kind of how that works. And you'll see how this works as we develop it, as we get it through. So let's go ahead and get started here. So I just want to make sure that this works the way I want it to work. It appears. Yes. Okay. So I'm gonna some of these. Okay, this workshop is made up of 3 sessions. Each session has 30 workshops. Each of those 30 workshops have 5 to 10 topics that we can drill down into. So this is kind of like phase 1 of the workshop. So I've identified all of the 90 workshops. Now I need to identify the subtopics in each of those, and then create all the material and the collateral for each of those topics. So this is kind of the starter kit of what's to actually happen, and then this eventually is going to be an online course that you can take. And then I'll be part of the graduation show and the writers labs. All right, so I'm just going to kind of fly through these. Welcome to session 1 here. Just a quick introduction of who I am, so that you know if I'm qualified or not to even be teaching this class. These are some of the things that I do. I'm a professional comedian. I produce podcasts, act, write, produce, direct, and edit. I use Adobe software to do that. I've been on the Oprah Winfrey Show. I've worked on cruise ships, and the NCLL, which is the Norwegian cruise line, the Royal Caribbean cruise line, the Emerald Seas, where I was on the ship for the 92 Olympics. I also do a lot of colleges, which is the National Association of Campus Activities. I was on the Coors Light Microjet tour, toured the country for like 3 years doing that. Started my career in Chicago, moved to Boston, worked the Boston crowd for about 5 years, moved to New York, opened a comedy club. I was in New York for 15 years. I worked on the early show as an audience coordinator, and worked for Apple Vision on their comedy segment. Some of my career credits is national tour on the Cuddy Tour, U.S. audiences. I produced the first San Diego Comedy Film Festival, the Queen Mary Film Festival, Laugh is Hope Comedy Club, which is where I met Will. I got a typo there on the film. I also produced the Cannes 24-Hour Film Challenge. I'm missing the eyes on all those. I got typos all over the place. The Marbella 24-Hour Film Challenge, and the Oasis Imagery, which is a 3D production house in Hollywood that I worked at doing a bunch of stuff. Some of the things, and then the comedy clubs that I've worked at is the John Lovitz Podcast Theater in Universal City Walk, which is right across the street from where we're sitting right now at the John Lovitz Podcast Theater. I worked on the Hollywood 48-Hour Film Project. for probably the past 10 years. I sponsor their red carpets. I launched the PodBrother Nation podcast network, which is what we're on right now is the PNN, which stands for PodBrother Nation Network. Academy is where I'm teaching a stand-up comedy workshop. Open Laugh is Hope, the Laughers Comedy Club, Tipping Comedians, which Will, I think, holds the record for the most tips behind Bill Devlin. I think you're probably one or two. Devlin might be slightly ahead of you, but I think you're second place for the most tips on tippingcomedians.com. So
I'm gonna do a show tonight.
yeah, you're doing a show tonight. Yeah.
Get a couple more tips with him.
Yeah. And then my sports podcast is the penaltygame.com, and the marketing company that manages all this is the TDE Marketing LLC. I also own an outdoor drive-in movie cinema package, and that's where we do our Hollywood drive-in film festivals. And so let's get right into it. The first thing that you need to know is what makes people laugh. What makes the body laugh? Like, okay, when someone laughs, you look at them and they're like in the audience, and the people are going, ha ha ha. What makes them do that?
I think, to me, a good laugh can make another person laugh. Like, I remember being in class, man, and somebody would do something and they would laugh, and their laugh would make me laugh.
Yeah, it's contagious.
Like, it's contagious. I remember one time in speech class, this girl, one of my good friends to this day, she was pretty tall and nice looking girl. And one day she happened to take her shoes and her socks off. And I looked down and I was like, woo, her toes was busted, right? So I didn't say nothing. And then, she starts taking the lotion out of her backpack. And she's like lotioning her legs and starts lotioning her feet and got right between the toes. And I was just like, ugh. She's like, what? And she flicked some lotion, and the damn lotion went right under my damn eye. And I was like, oh, hell. And I was like, ah! And everybody started busting up laughing. And the teacher looks up, she's like, what's going on over there? I was like, her feet. And we still laugh about that till this day. And I thought, like, part of my face was gonna come up. If you would have seen the toes, toes, her toes look like Casey and JoJo's knuckles. You ever seen Casey and JoJo's knuckles? They look like they bare knuckle box. I was just like, woo, man, how long you been boxing? All my life. I'm like, man, them toes was rough. But they look like gorilla hands. They was all just. Man,
that's funny.
I think she gets kicked out of nail shop sometimes. Let's just hope and pray, after all these years that she finally went to a podiatrist, just...
Yeah, what if she practiced that move, though? She was like, man, when somebody talks, she would just, shut up, bam. Just...
Man, that would be, if she was a superhero, man,
that'd be her power.
You know what I'm saying? You sit there and look at her and be like, oh, man, you done made her mad. What? She taking them slides off, bruh. She's reaching for the lotion,
So, Dorian, what do you think? I'm going to put that question to you. What do you think makes people laugh?
I feel like it's laughter's contagious. That's true, and I've laughed over hearing somebody else laughing, and like I don't even know what they're laughing about. I'm just like, your laugh is hilarious. Like I'm laughing at you laughing, but then when I hear a comedian, and it's kind of like that connection, kind of like that agreement where like, yeah, I see it that way too. Like the thing that you're presenting, the idea or whatever, your point of view on things, like you make it sound funny, and I agree with that. Like because there's times where some comedians will try to do that, and they kind of like, they'll say like, yeah, don't you always, when this happens, you feel like this, and then if that's not true, if you've never actually felt that way, you're like, no, like what? And you just crickets in the middle of the day, So I feel like it's that connection to like them saying or expressing something that you at one point felt before, just in a funny way.
Mm-hmm. That's those are all good answers.
But I'm gonna tell you what makes
people laugh, a person laugh,
Yeah.
the body laughs. Okay, so the science behind the body inhaling air and then having the throat choke off the exhale so that the body can then laugh and then it releases to do the ha ha is the is a
To do the.
it is a biological physical release
Kind of like gas.
like gas. It is.
That should sound
It
like
is.
a workout. It's like,
It's
step
like
one.
gas.
Ready, release. Ready, release. Ready, release.
It's the biological physical body's system of relieving stress and tension.
Yeah.
That is why comedy is so healing. That's why we feel so good after we laugh, especially if it's about something that is really intense.
Yeah.
So what creates tension in the body is everything that stresses you, everything that is a fear, everything that you're insecure about, everything that makes you vulnerable. All those things create tension in the body. Religious things, political things, family things, financial things, sexual things, any intimidation you feel from other human beings, male, female, races, things that you observe that create stress or that create fear or that create anger or some type of emotion that makes you just tighten up. And the tighter you become with life's tension and stresses, the bigger the release that happens when you laugh. So people who laugh really, really hard are usually the ones that has some huge tension that's built up that needs to be released. And this is the body's way of releasing that tension. So you look at the performer, so the character that you choose to present is the visual stimulation that gets added to the audio on how you say it and the voice. And that gets added to the third mind's eye in the picture you're painting, the comedic picture that you're painting, for you to then take the audio, the visual, the character, the writing, the words that they're saying, all that gets cooked into the third mind's eye, creates a comedic visual that allows the body to go ha ha and release that tension. That's another reason why comedians do material. It's always intense stuff because that's the stuff that is creates the tension, that creates the stress. And when you put the camera back on me because I'm talking, I keep forgetting to swing it around. That's why the body needs laughter. That's why the soul needs laughter. That's why the mind needs laughter. And when you are allowed to be like, oh wow, that's not as scary as I thought it was. I can laugh at that. Oh wow, it's like I'm not as insecure or as weird as I thought it was. Like, oh, other people feel the same way I do, so I'm not alone. I can laugh at that. And that's one of the reasons why the body goes ha ha, is to relieve stress and tension. Now that you know that up front, and the reason why I asked that question up front is because I want people to know that tension and stress and insecurities and all that crazy stuff out there is what creates tension in the body. And the comedy is how you release it. So now that you know that, when you're taking the rest of this course and you're developing what you need to do, you can always think about that. You know, what part of how I'm putting together is going to relieve the stress of the material I'm talking about. If I'm talking about racism, and black people are stressed and tense from racism. White people are stressed and tense. Latino, what can I say and do to get them to laugh, to relieve that racial tension that's built up in the physical body? So when you write,
Yeah.
I want you to think about that now.
Okay.
Because now that's part of your strategy. And when you write, okay, so let's say you're writing for somebody, and it could be black, could be white, could be Latino, could be whoever, and you get to a point in the bit where it's like, okay, if this particular comedian wants to release stress about this particular topic, how can I write into that? How can I figure that out? What do I want to make light of through this comedian that will make these people laugh? Whether it's a Latino doing black material about black people to get them to relax, or it's a Latino doing black material to get white people to release. So it's a triangulated formula, and a lot of it is that's why comedians get so much respect with their writing and their genius, because it's a lot. It's a formula, it's a puzzle, and you have to put it together. And when you finally put the final thing together, and in seconds you can do the premise and the punchline, and they're like, that's brilliant. How did you come up with that? Well, that's hours and hours of just sitting back and writing it out and flushing it out and working and being, hey, Will, try this. He tries it, and maybe it didn't work as well as you thought it was, and you come back and you wordsmith it, or buck the eyes more, or give a beat between the setup and the punchline, because you are studying that, and you know that you have that formula for that. So what makes people laugh? What is the release of stress and tension that is built up in the body through comedy. So obviously your answers were right. That you got to be funny, and you have to do the comedy in order to get the body to actually go ha ha.
And it's funny that you said that, huh? But I'm not gonna say any names, but this one character, and I'm gonna call him a character because that's exactly who he was. He used to speak in third person,
Right.
and so I thought one way for me to practice when I'm just at home, I would speak in third person. So I would use my voice and two other people, and that's how I would work on building the character. I would have them have a conversation. So say it'd be me, Paul Mooney, and Joe Osteen, So, maybe Paul was going to Joel Osteen's church, and he's attending there, and he didn't really want to give some money to Todd or something. So Paul be like, oh, yes, he definitely will motivate you to give all your damn money. Yes, he will. Yes, he will. And I'm going to let him know, no, I am not going to give you anything. No, I'm not. I'll enjoy everything you have to say, but no, you're not going to get any of Paul's money. No, you're not.
And see, we're going to get into metaphors and similes that you can use as formulas. And doing impression is kind of a form of a metaphors where you are projecting into somebody else, using somebody else's voice. So, for example, a metaphor material would be an object or an animal that you now become. Like Richard Pryor was good with the monkeys and the German shepherds.
Mm-hmm. Oh man,
Where
exactly.
I'm gonna eat your ass tomorrow. You realize that, right?
Just the dog noise,
Yeah.
the cat. Oh
Yeah.
man, we do that all the time.
So when you're writing, a metaphor is when you are the thing or the person. A simile is when you're like the thing or a person. And you're going to find as you write, you're going to see how you're going to use those methods to figure out how to make that premise work, that punchline work. And
Exactly, Kimbrough. So I listened to you, and I said, you know what? That Kimbrough guy right there, he's a comedian. He looked at me. He said to himself, right there, that guy, Paul Mooney, he's not going to give anything. Not one dime, not one single penny. And I'm all, you know what? I'm fine with that. Because you know why? I got a new job anyway. I'm going to be coaching for the Lakers.
that's funny. Okay, so moving on. All right, let me get back over here where I was. Okay, so this is some of the stuff that we went over that what makes people laugh. You know, fear, credibility, truth, tension, what makes you feel uncomfortable, what makes you feel insecure, security, things that surprise you. Uh, so there's that. Now, what are some of the things that you need in order to like be a person who can make someone laugh? What do you need to make people laugh? One of the things that I would like some of you guys to do is to pick a couple of your favorite comedians. And now, Will, you've already done that because you do impressions, and you've able to, in doing those impressions, to understand the timing and the punchline and the beats and the eyes and the facial expressions and all that. So you're kind of light years ahead of the new people that are getting started. But for the sake of say like you, Dorian, getting started just right now, who are two comedians that you would really enjoy watching, not to be entertained as an audience for laughter, but as someone to study to see how they do things?
Yeah, I can't even think of it right now.
We'll start with your favorite comic that you like,
I
and
like
then
Dave Chappelle.
yeah. Okay, so Dave Chappelle, and who else would you pick?
There's this guy I've been seeing a lot recently.
Yeah, actually, why don't you guys share mics?
Okay.
Because this mic is really soft, and you
Okay.
need to. So just share that one.
All right, let's get, what's it called? Matt Rife. Yeah, Matt Rife. Oh, it has to be.
When you talk, and
Oh,
then
okay,
just do the.
Cool. Yeah, so Dave Chappelle and Matt Rife. Matt Rife does more like. Actually, I haven't heard him like tell an actual joke. Every clip that I see from him is just him doing crowd work. Like he talks to somebody, asks them about their situation, and then that becomes the whole like bit. But he's just interacting with the crowd, and a lot of the comments are like, I haven't heard this dude in all the clips that he's had tell one actual joke, like old school comedian like where they have a whole set. They're not depending on the crowd to like to interact with them. They're like, shut up, I got this. I'm gonna tell you all these things. You don't say anything, but he's the opposite. He's like, please, somebody say something. Like, we need to, we need to have a conversation. But it's funny conversations.
And so, so what you need is to take that and observe that, like actual comics that's doing setups and punchline and actual material, because to riff and go into the audience, it's funny and it's entertaining, but there's no brilliance in that. That's not a craft. That's not a skill.
Yeah, it's just a reaction.
Yeah, that's a reactionary, improvisational, comedic entertainment that you're like, you're pulling from the audience where you can do your jokes versus actually writing actual material that people go, wow, that was pretty amazing. So I want you to find a couple comics. Dave Chappelle, he does material.
Yeah.
So he's a good one to watch.
Definitely.
I want you to find another comic that you really like that actually writes material, and I want you to really study the setups, the punchlines, the tags, the body language, the facial expressions, as if you were going to impersonate them, but you're not necessarily going to hack off their act or do their act. You're going to basically just listen to them, repeat their act. So you know what it feels like to deliver a setup and a punchline from an actual professional that you see at the top of the food chain on TV. And in doing that, that's going to help you understand how to be a really good writer, because you mostly, from when I talked to you last time, you're more interested in the writing side of it than the performing side of it. Yeah, and that's a good place to be. And you easily could roll into the performing side because you're funny as hell, and you got the timing, and you got the storytelling, you got the face, you got the body language. You're funny dude. You are naturally funny. So don't be afraid at some point when you like working with a bunch of comics writing to be like, okay, I'm gonna step on stage and see if this works. It's not as daunting as you think it is, but it's also it's a it's a luxury and an opportunity to experiment with failing forward with your own creativity. So you care, but you don't care.
Yeah.
You know what? You care that they like you and that you want the laughs, but because you're in an Einstein research and development experience, you don't care if you don't get the laugh because you're experimenting to get to the laugh.
Yeah.
So you care and you want them to laugh and like you, but you don't care if they don't laugh this time. Because, okay, that didn't work. I'm going to come back around and I'm going to try something else next time. Okay, that didn't work. I'm going to try some. So as long as you keep experimenting until finally it hits, then all those other fails are forward to when you actually nailed it. And then from there, it's just rinse and repeat. You just keep doing it until you get just better and better and better.
You know, somebody that's great at doing that is Dion Cole. I remember doing a show maybe about 16, 17 years ago, and it was myself, Anthony McKinley, known as Scrancho, Dion Cole, and Roy Screw. We were down on Pine. It was this club called The Cave.
Was that Ricky Harris's spot?
I'm not sure if it was Ricky Harris's spot, but Ricky Harris is the one that got me started doing comedy. And that's a beautiful story right there. I met him on his birthday. Went to his mom's house, you know, on the west side, and my friend Nick, his mom, she knew Ricky, and she basically was like, "Hey, Rick said he want to hear you. Come to the house. It's his birthday. He's in the back in the den on the couch, and you know." He said, "All right, go." And I just went into my characters. I did Bill Cosby, and I was just like, you know, when you come over here and you got me laughing and you want me to make you laugh, I think it's a beautiful thing. And I found out it was his birthday, so I'm going to do birthday face. You know? And he started laughing. And I was like, all right, boom, let me do Prince. You know? And I'm just like, I like ice cream, right? And I was watching Prince one day, and Purple Rain happened to come on, and I was sitting there just thinking, what if Prince was my neighborhood ice cream man? So you see him, and he's looking, he's going, And us as comedians, we think, because we're so like, boom, we like visionaries. And that vision will get you to tell a story. And so I was sitting there like, so I'm sitting there, and I'm eating ice cream, and I happen to doze off and go to sleep, and that's what gave me the premise to go, this is the music, and I started, and I go in and describe it in detail. It was a purple ice cream truck, and the music on the truck went a little something like this. And Prince steps out, the wavy hair, the white shirt, you know, was ruffled, you know, like, you know, I used to say Mexican baby's underwear, you know, them little, the thing they put over the diaper, you know, it was all fancy, kind of look like a tuxedo, you know what I'm saying? There's some cool little drawers you got on there, you know, got ruffles, you know, almost, you know. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, and he's laughing. It's like he almost couldn't catch his breath. And I'm like, man, inside of me, he's like, keep going, keep going. So as I rolled through the joke, and I said, Prince stepped up the ice cream truck, and he pointed at me, and he was like, do you want ice cream cone? I got one for you. It had cherries on and some sprinkles too. You know you want some ice cream. I give you ice cream. I give you chocolate. You can be Monday. And I looked at him. I said, "You scream, I scream, you scream, ice cream. Is this the sweet one?" Nah. Step back in the truck. I'm like, whoa. I woke up. I'm like, if that ain't the craziest dream I ever had, man. And he's like, I'm taking you to the Improv on Melrose.
There it is.
What a blessing. What a
yeah,
blessing.
no.
Rest in peace. My brother Ricky, rest in peace. But man, that was an awesome experience.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's awesome. So, like, that's a perfect example of, in order for you to do that, you need to like really study Prince and get that voice down, get those mannerisms, get that whole thing down, and then you have a dream, and then you just woke up and you just fuse it all together. That's why it's important to have a notebook or a phone next to your bed when you wake up, because you get a lot of amazing material, like right when you wake up. Mm-hmm. And you got to write it down, because you'll lose it in 30 seconds and you never get it back. So it's real important to write that stuff down. All right, moving on here. Bada boom, bada bing. Okay, critics. How do you deal with critics? First of all, don't do your material for your family and friends.
He's funny. My baby funny. You go there, you're like,
it's like, oh, I got this premise, I got this joke I want to run by, and then you do it, and they just staring at you like, that ain't funny. I don't see the funny in that. And then what happens is, you're discouraged to actually develop and make it funny, because it's an idea that you find funny, you just haven't fleshed it out yet. So you don't want to run it by a novice person who's not in the industry. You want to run it by other comedians and do a writer's lab. So that's where you and I come in, where Will goes, hey, I got this new bit that I'm working on. Can we sit down and do a writer's lab for an hour, and then I'll do the bit, and you guys can let me know what I need to work, and be like, okay, I see that's a funny premise, but the punchline needs to hit harder, or you need to do the face or the voice, or maybe you can pull in, this character, or your point of view is too soft or it's too hard. Your family and friends aren't gonna see it that way, because they're not in the business. It's not a craft to them. They're an audience member, and they get the final product of after it's fleshed out.
Not my mom. She's a liar. She'll tell me it's the best thing that's ever happened. I'll be like, yeah, you got it. I'm like, I can't even tell you shit. You just gonna say it's amazing. So it's like, oh, that's the best. I'm like, no, it's not, Mom.
And now that's good material right there, because that's something that you need to write down. That's something that you definitely need to write down, because it's like, I'm starting out this comedy, and there's things in my head that I think are funny, but obviously I know needs to be flushed out. But every time I kick it by my mom, she's like, "Oh, that's awesome," and it's booty.
Yeah.
It's like, man, can't tell my mom's nothing.
everything is funny. That's my baby.
Because
that's my baby.
My baby's so funny. Come in here and do that joke for the thing that you did.
Come tell me. Come tell Miss Elizabeth.
It's like, I don't have a cry flushed out yet, Mom. That's okay. It's still funny, baby. It's still funny.
My mom lied to me so much. I thought I was a really good juggler. It turns out I just had 2 eggs and I just caught one and handed the other one over. She's like, "Oh, you're the best." First time I tried to do 3 eggs, they all broke. I was like, "Mom, you lying ass! Like, I can't do this shit. What the fuck? What you hype me up for? Like,
Let's look at it.
you know how much eggs cost that?
No, how much they going now?
Yeah.
10.79
No,
for
this,
12.
this was last week.
Damn.
I thought this was when you were like 12 or something. You're like, no, this is week.
She's still lying to me. I'm 32. She's still lying like
You know, I'm still tasting the shell today. Like, what I know, it's a piece of hard. What is this? Shell from last week.
So yeah, like don't listen to people because they don't understand the industry. You basically want to understand that when you're developing material, you're developing material to fail forward. So embrace the opportunity to experiment with failing forward on your material. So don't take criticism to heart. If you're working with another comedian or several comedians that you can create a writer's lab with, then take their criticism and how to make the joke better, because they're not going to be like, you suck. They're going to be like, here's what you need to make the joke funny.
I thought you were going to say, they're not going to be like you said, they're going to be like, your joke sucks.
Well, it could be too. I mean, comedians are bold, and they'll be like, that joke sucks. But look, here, you might want to try this, you might want to try that.
A little razzle dazzle.
Yeah, critique each other, and that's all about, as far as, networking with another comedian. If you hear something and you say, hey, if you say it like this, or if you take that pause right there and just say, hey, one time I was, or body language or look or something like that. And once you do that and you say, okay, well, try it like this, and then you get back on stage the next time, that's why it's good to do so many open mics, man.
Yeah.
I remember my good friend of mine, comedian Anthony McKinley Scruncho, man, we sitting there and he was talking to me. He says, man, try to get on stage as much as you can. We do like 5 or 6 shows. One night we did like 5 or 6 shows, man. And 6 days a week. You know what I'm saying? And we would try to hit every single. One time we hit stages, man, and we were like, it was after that show. Matter of fact, we were at the Cave, and we just was like hitting different spots. He was like, you know what's an open mic? I said, man, this is Long Beach, man. I know where all open mics is, boy. Well, at least I thought it was, but at least we got a couple of shows in, and it was just awesome, because it was work, it was time to polish, and one of the guys, they got up there, I forget the dude's name, but he was just like, I went on before the guy, and then he goes on, and we're sitting there listening and watching, and okay, checking him out, and he just starts talking about me. So I'm just sitting there like, hey, boy, I'll tell you that Will Nave, man, I tell you, man, I remember, man, when he first started, boy, he sucked. He could not tell the truth. He was not funny.
Yeah.
And I said, like you are right now, and the crowd just busted up laughing. I mean, it was the biggest damn laugh, and it was just like, first of all, why are you making me your material?
Yeah.
And then you don't know that, man. Growing up in my family, we played the dozens. The dozens, man, we would bag on you. It didn't matter. Mama crack on your daddy, crack on your grandma, crack on your little brother, your older brother, cousins.
Yeah.
That's how we did it, and that's what got you ready to be able to handle a heckler or somebody out in the crowd, or somebody wanted to say something smarter or thought they was part of the show and you're the entertainment, or somebody would be like, oh, well, that's not funny. Okay, well, you say all that stuff from your seat, but let's see you get in front of all these people and then make everybody laugh, and they'd freeze up. And that's why you have to remember that, don't let nobody intimidate you. Don't let nobody talk about you, and always have that confidence in yourself to no matter what somebody says, you don't quit. You remember you're your own or your best critic, I would say.
Yeah.
And you know how you did, but you always you go against you. Don't worry about anybody else.
Yeah.
And you're going to find your journey is going to be your biggest assets, because that's when you learn and discover and find yourself. And that's the next workshop that I want to get into, is finding your material. How do you find your material? Who are you? Like, you got to ask yourself a lot of questions, and you have to be 100% totally honest with yourself, so that when you are writing, you're writing credible moments and elements about your true self, your true vulnerability, your insecurities. That's what people want to. They want to see. They want to see confidence in the humility that you have in making yourself vulnerable, so that they can associate with the vulnerability and the security, and then you come back around and say, hey, we're all okay. And I'm gonna take care of you. I'm gonna take you on a journey. I'm gonna strip it down and I'm gonna push it back up.
Exactly.
So it's a strip down and it's a push back up. The strip down allows them to go, oh, whoa, it's like that's pretty courageous for you to like make yourself vulnerable, which I feel the same way, but I'm back in the dark and I don't have really the courage to do it, but I'm glad that you do, so we can relate. And then you make light of it, so now you just relieve some pressure that I had put on that tension, because we both can relate to this strip down, but then you somehow lightened it up, and I can feel better about it because now I'm teamed with you. And then you expose the the airing of it, so everybody else now collectively comes on board, and then you can go, oh, it's not just he and I, it's all of us. Now I really feel better, because like, hey, man, me too.
Yeah, man.
Me too. It's like, me too.
That ever happened to you?
This,
Point at somebody?
so now you like collectively are rising to the light, because you know you're not in this fear, this tension, this vulnerable, this insecurity alone. And that's what's magical. But you have to first find out who you are and be honest with yourself first and your vulnerabilities, and then you can take a look at what it is that you want to do your material on. Find what your attitude is. Is your attitude coming from a place of, you know, you're pissed, or you're frustrated, or you're sad, or you're angry? Think about the comics that have issues in their material, and they're presenting it. Their attitude is not a good attitude. You know, George Carlin had a bad attitude.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
And very opinionated.
he's very opinionated. He did not like groups, governments, opinion. He did not like religions. He had an attitude for them. You guys are bullshit. You know, was his thing. You know,
That was a lot like real, very fucking
you know,
attitude.
Dave Attell, he got issues. You know, so you want to find what your attitude is on these different things. What are the topics that you're going to talk about?
I literally had a conversation like this with a friend, but it wasn't even like I wasn't trying to be funny. Like I wasn't trying to we were just talking because he had lost some weight, and my biggest I was like 400. So I had started losing weight. I went down like 272, and then I came back up. And I was talking to him the other day. He's like, "Yeah, man, like you're gonna struggle. You have moments of weakness." I was like, "Yeah, but my moment of weakness lasted 3 to 4 days. Like I understand the moments like a meal or something, but like I was high as shit. My EBT just kicked in. I bought $281 worth of snacks, and I ate that shit in 3 to 4 days. I done gained 15 pounds. Like that ain't a moment. That's a period. That's a period in time. Like that." And he just started laughing, and I was like, I'm being serious. Like, I really just ate this much food, flaming hot everything, every type of flavor of brisk you could think of. Like, these are, I'll show you the receipt. And he was like, nah, dude, he's like, I know you're being serious, but I'm laughing because I've been there. Like, I understand that. Like, I get exactly what you're saying. Like, I've been high as shit. And Vaughn's is open? What?
Yeah.
And the ladies letting me get the hot meals, like they cold meals, like it's good. We about to just take all this shit. Like, and it's like I get it though. I've had those moments. I didn't do no 3-4 days. That's kind of like a record, but like, I had cheat meals. You know?
So that was like a negative trait, that you took a vulnerability.
Yeah.
You know, that was like something that you saw like a weak a weak moment, and in that weak moment, you were like, and people can relate to that vulnerability. You made yourself like honest and vulnerable. That
I'm still full. This shit was like 3-4 days ago.
But it's like especially when you sit there and you talk about what happened and then as you're telling us the story, even if you went into like what you ate and you guys remember this right here, you remember the Twinkies with the strawberry cream, and you start to talk about certain candies and remember this the sugar daddy and the now laters, and we didn't call it on the package. It said now and later, but we just call it now laters.
And like here's some other additional points that I want to bring out. It's like, what don't you like about your outer self? What negative things do people say about you? What Will was saying earlier about we played the dozens when we were growing up, because that's what we did.
Yeah.
We did not realize the gold in that, because it allows us as comedians to have developed two things. Number one, we got to hear what other people thought about our outer selves.
Yeah.
And because those were the material that they would do the dozens on us. Mm-hmm. We did not know that later in life as a comic, those would be materials that you could talk about yourself and what was vulnerable, because they basically would just rip down any and everything about you. And at the time, it may not feel good, but as a comic, it's like gold, because you now go, oh, okay, this is how the world sees me. This is, if anybody had a chance to take shots at me, this is what they would do. And then you can use that as a place to do like self-awareness material, or some might call it self-deprecating, but it's basically exposing your own vulnerabilities based on how other people see your outer self and even your inner self. Your family kind of knows how you think, they know how you feel, and when they're doing the dozens, they might bite on that because they know you. Yeah. People who don't know you just might bite on your outer side, on your outer self. But those are all like valuable things when you're developing material to understand like who you are, how you feel about yourself, and how other people feel about you, because that's where you can then write that material. That's what allowed you to go on that rant about, hey, I lost all this weight, but then you had a weak moment and you just like were going crazy. And that's funny. How you were saying it was funny.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was trying to tell him, like, man, I don't know how you stick to this, and that's when I explained everything, and he's just like, nah, man, trust me, like, it's not, like, to stick to something is not for you to do it perfectly throughout the whole way. Like, it's just to keep doing it even when you're messing up. It's like everyone has moments, and I'm like, yeah, you don't understand. A moment might be like a cheat meal or a cheat day. Like, there's 3-4 days in a row.
See, that's
I got
funny.
rappers everywhere.
That's funny, because it's like for you, you could be like, okay, you say a moment, but your moment is like half a second. My moment could be 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And when you sit there and you realize you pick apart yourself, and you find out and you realize that you and the audience, or just people in class. I remember people would be embarrassed, to get lunch tickets and everything like that. And I remember when I was really young, and the teacher would like call your name, and they take and roll like the first day, and you see that big old stack, and you sitting there, and I remember thinking to myself, oh man, I don't want to go up here and get these doggone lunch tickets. And after a while, I was like, you know what, man, that's free food. You know what I'm saying? Don't be embarrassed because you're getting free food. And then I got comfortable, and I was like, I didn't care what nobody thought. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And one of the things I would go into was like, you remember you would be going to the cafeteria and get your lunch ticket, and you got one in your hand, and then all of a sudden you look down, and you see another lunch ticket on the floor, on the ground or something, and I'd be like, oh yeah, boy, I'm in the house. Yeah. I'm in the house. That's 2 lunches, baby. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And as I got older and I went into high school and we were still getting them lunch tickets, I was like, man, I'm about to go on a date. Let me find a chick and be like, hey, baby, you know what's up? Hey, let me take you to lunch, girl. She'd be like, how you taking me to lunch? I was like, 2 tickets. You know?
That's funny as hell. Yeah, my school was all we were so broke. We made fun of the people who had money. Like, what? You brought a sandwich? Oh, you fancy la di da! Like, we over here. As soon as they say the tickets, everybody's getting. I'm like, let somebody not get. So I'm about to get 2 packets of tickets. I said that's how I started getting big. There's always some people that had chips. Like, what? You got chips? You got Ruffles? Like, we over here got like the plastic, like leftover Lay's that were like from last week and so just like, but it's free. Yeah. So we all went for it. No one was ashamed. Everyone was like, "You broke? I'm broke. You broke? Yeah." Oh, that motherfucker got money. Ha 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 ha. Like, but it was. I grew up in Gardena, so like.
Long
yeah.
Beach, man.
Hey, we right there. Yeah.
Around the corner, you know what I'm saying?
That's funny.
Yeah.
So
I had 2 tickets. I literally had 2 tickets because the person that used to always bring snacks. I'm like, "What you gonna do with yours?" He's like, nothing. They so like. Everyone gets them that they don't even ask you like come and get it if you need it, like you all need it. Here you go, one for everybody, and just the 1 or 2 people that didn't need it, like, what's up? Like, hey, what you gonna do with those tickets? Cause I want an extra chocolate milk at breakfast, you know?
Man.
so let's keep on moving here. So you want to identify like who you are, know your, find out what your oops, dropped it in there too quick. What the hell did I do? Oh, okay, I'm here. Figure out what your negative traits are because you're going to find your negative traits are where you can write a lot of material and allow yourself to have that vulnerability so the audience can really relate to you. You know, if you're older than the average person, if you're impatient, you got big lips. You got a replacement hip. I have my hip replaced because I had an injury in my hip. Are you broke? What kind of pain you in? Are you out of shape? All that stuff can be like negative traits that you can literally turn into some serious comedy material.
Exactly.
What's your uniqueness? What's a character trait about you that's different from anybody else? Is that facial expressions? That's your voice? That's your caricatures? Your impressions? Any physical animation that you have? How you dress? How loony you are? How kooky you are? All those things can be stuff that you can discover. Things about your inner self. What is it that about your inner self that makes you unique, that makes you want to develop material, develop a show about things that's happening on the inside of you? Are you comfortable in your own skin? Do you like yourself? Are your thoughts good? Are your thoughts bad? What do you think about yourself? Why you want to do stand-up, like what is your motivation behind wanting to do stand-up? So these are some of the inner things that you might want to write down and see, where you want to come from. What are the things that you hate? Things
Toes. The lotion off the toes.
Off the toes on your face.
Ugly toes.
When you were saying that, I couldn't wait to get to this slide.
I was like, oh, it's Gretchen Toes. Oh, did I say her name? Oh, sorry, baby. She's gonna be like, I'm gonna kill you. You know what I'm saying? And like, it's a good friend, so it's all comedy, and she's goofy herself. I always said, you need to go on stage too. But
Yes.
she's a writer now,
So let's hang on this slide for 1 second. So what are some of the things that you hate besides lotion off of toes on your face?
Got me thinking about toes now. My hair. I was bald at 28, and it had little hair, and it don't really grow, and that's hard for me because growing up I had like that nice curly hair where everybody thought I had a Jerry curl, but we got Cherokee in my family, and my hair just was always curly. People, is that a curl? I'm like, no, that boy ain't got no curl. You know what I'm saying? And so 28 comes around, and I'm starting to go bald. So now I just cut it all off, but it made me feel like a little insecure, and I'm like, man. And then I got into my accident, man, at 20 years old, and I broke my back.
Yeah.
And I had this little bald spot in the back. And with having a head full of hair, and then you got a bald spot in the back, you know, somebody made fun of that. And it hurt me, man. And to the point where, I got angry. I was enraged. And there was a dude that he kind of like, I wouldn't say bullied, but he like picked on me. And I remember us having a fight, and it got to the point where he had punched me, and it was more like a sucker punch. Don't you hate when you're in a fight and you get the one punch, and then everybody gather around and pull you apart? You're like, hey, I didn't get my damn punch, man. I want my punch. And it was just like, ooh. And one day I'm gonna I should just walk up to him and punch him, but they'd be like, no, I can't do that because they'd be like, you starting stuff. So I always wanted to get the dude, but it took me a long time to get comfortable to be able to be on stage and talk about my accident when I broke my back. And I had done it, and once I finally done it, and I got laughs, and I found out the humor in it. It's okay, to laugh at your own pain, kind of like, Kevin Hart, laugh at your pain. You laugh at your life experiences, and you find what's funny about it. And then another handicapped person will look at it and go, man, I don't feel so bad, man. Look at he's going through. We have that in common.
Yeah.
So as he laughed at it, I was laughing at it too, and I felt more comfortable, So my thing was, broke my back. They told me to lay down, don't be still. You could be paralyzed. And me being from Long Beach, I was like, hey, man, I'm trying to look out the helicopter window. You know what I'm saying? So I'm raising up like that. And they said, sir, you can lay your ass still for you. And I'm like, shoot, this is a free helicopter ride. I'm from Long Beach. We don't get helicopter rides every day. So,
Dorian, what are some of the things that you hate?
Shit, probably just people that are like assholes. Like, I'm guessing in a comedy type of setting, it'll be somebody who like heckles the comedian. Because if I'm watching somebody and I'm there to see the comedian, you give your shitty opinion that's not funny, to the comedian or about his set or about their set, whether it's a male or female. But yeah, I feel like, man, like, you're that person. Like, you're that person that, like, you don't get invited to shit. You probably came by yourself. Like, that shit is annoying, I'm like, just shut up and listen to him. We all listening. We're here to listen to him or her. We're not here to, like, nobody goes to your job and just, like.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's a good point of view that you can have for those people. So, the attitude and the perspective that you come to with the emotion of hating those people that disrupt comedy shows.
Yeah.
So if you were to develop a set on hecklers, first of all, the comedians are going to love you. In the room, because it's like, okay, yeah, listen to that guy. This is why we don't want you heckling. Anybody who follows that is going to appreciate the fact that you just gave a tutorial on how you hate hecklers, and anybody in the audience who's thinking about heckling are now going to be like, ooh, I'm not going to heckle now.
There was a comedian I saw that did that. He started off his set by saying, like, are there any registered sex offenders in the room? And people were laughing. He's like, see, whoever you see not laughing or clapping or try to heckle, they're usually sex offenders or whatever. And he started talking. He kept going with his stand-up routine. He's like, yeah, so one time I was bench pressing 200, and then somebody was like, no, you weren't. He's like, oh, there we go. We got our first sex offender right here. There's usually two. And then everybody just started laughing, but it was from how he opened up the set, where he just asked that question just randomly, and then was like, okay, whoever's hating, and like, it's usually one of them. Statistically, with as many people that are in this room, there's got to be one, maybe two. Like, we'll find them tonight, and like, I like that stand-up, but that was one of those little like clips.
Yeah.
But I like stuff like that. It kind of calls them out at the beginning.
That's funny. That's a good observation.
Yeah.
That's a good observation. Okay, so moving on. Things that you worry about.
Zombie clowns, I guess.
This zombie clown. This dude. I met this guy at the Comic-Con in San Diego.
Oh yeah.
And in Comic-Con on Sunday, they do a zombie walk, and it's 6,000 zombies that show up for this thing. Because it's Comic-Con. They have like 80,000, 100,000 people in town for Comic-Con. So the zombies, and they're all like cosplay dressed up in, costumes and stuff. So on Sunday, it's a big, huge zombie walk. And this dude came as zombie Homie the Clown. Zombie clown. So I had him do a plug for me, man. Yeah, this is Home of the Clown, man. Stick with the PodBrother because the PodBrother don't play that. He was hysterical. So I'm like, can I get a picture of you, man? I got to use you on my poster, and so that's what that is. But things that you worry about are also good places to start to develop.
I thought that said global racism. It says global warming.
The whole planet is
everybody?
racist. Everybody.
I hate all the species of fish. I hate all the goddamn.
Ants get on my nerves.
Yeah.
They always want to come in and try to swim. They don't like water. But spiders, I like spiders because you know what? Spiders eat everything.
Now, I like this slide, and as you know, like all these slides, by the way, are in that PDF that I sent you, where you can come in here and you can fill in all your own ideas and fill in your own notes and everything that you learned here today and the thoughts that you're having, you can go back through and you can just kind of write and fill in the blanks of what you're frightened of, and this will allow you to have like a starter place for developing your own material. And even though you're not performing, still write into yourself, because you're going to find a comic that is going to be similar to you that could use that material, and because they're a professional performing comedian, will kill it. Yeah. And then that's going to allow you to be able to write into other people as well.
I can only think of one thing right now. That's a lot of lines right there.
Yeah. But you can come back. The cool thing about this is when your brain's on fire, you write down as much as you want. If you're not really thinking about anything, then leave it alone.
Does it have to be like one thing or like a certain like situation type of?
Start with one thing at a time. Just write down everything that you're afraid of. Because here's what's going to happen. If you write it all down and then throw it away, then later, when you're writing some material, you might have a writer's block. If you come to this, then it's gonna be like, oh, I know I know where I want to go with this now.
Yeah, cause I got one thing that's like, I get home at like 5:30 in the morning and everything's like still dark, and I don't want to turn on any lights because like my family's like sleeping. I don't want to like wake nobody up. So I'm used to just moving around in the dark, traveling in the dark. I'll cook something, walk to my room. But you ever watch like a scary movie and then you're like, damn, my hands are full. I got a plate and a cup in this hand, and if this bitch pops out the dark, I can't fight her. Like, she's just going, I'm gonna die. So I just like, that's the only time that I'm like, I just watched a scary movie and I'm moving over there. I'm like, man, I walk through the dark all the time, but why I gotta watch this stupid ass movie? Now I'm worried about something that I know ain't there popping up, and I'm like, I don't want to drop the food. I done spent 20 minutes cooking this.
But see, that's funny. Like, you can take that and flip it on its ass. It's like the more ridiculous you can take a point, the funnier it is. And the misdirection. So if you open up with like, okay, I want to get a few things off my chest. I'm afraid of a few things. All right. I know we all have our fears. I want to share you some of my fears. So now the audience is set up to go through a list of their own fears.
Yeah.
And they think you're going to land on one of their fears.
So you say the dark, like who here scared of the dark?
Yeah. So you're setting it up. You're scared of the dark. Now everybody that has a fear in the dark, you just layered onto that.
So we're like, I'm not scared of the dark. I'm scared of being attacked in the dark while I got food in my hands.
So that's what's funny is like you're more afraid of dropping the food than getting slashed. But
like, look, bitch, kill me if you got to. But I just made this. Let me get like a couple bites. Like,
so they're not expecting that. They're not. So the flip is that the joke is the fear of losing the food trumps the fear of getting slashed.
And I remember like just being afraid of the dark. I remember I said this. I was just like, you know what? Not even afraid of being in the dark. I don't like the dark either. But then when you in the dark and then you get hit in the face with like a cobweb from a spider, you be like, oh man. You be like, oh. You're like, where did the damn spider come from? And how the hell did the spider get in the house? You're like, how do they know like they gonna walk right past this damn well? Spiders are smart, man.
So there's exercises like this too. Like, what's your attitude? So identify all of your attitudes and where you sit. So answer these questions on what part of your personalities land on this, whether it's a percentage, I'm 10% passive, or I'm 90% angry, or I'm 40% happy. Figure out what your attitudes are, because you're going to be able to mix and cross pollinate your attitudes with your fears. And there's a couple of other lists that we're going to go through. But once you fill all this in, you can go back then later and you can figure out like how to develop these jokes into funny premises and funny punchlines. Mocking insincerity. That is another fun thing to do when you are like mocking insincerity. And you got relatives, you got celebrities, you got politicians, you got so many people that you can pull from, your teachers, celebrities. Like you can mock insincerity from a lot of these people to develop, your material. Um, Taking pride. When people have pride into something, that is a very good place where you can develop some material. So this slide here is ordered for you to put, write everything that you have pride in. Maybe it's a collection of your baseball cards. Maybe it's your motorcycle. Maybe it's your parents. It's your son. It's something that you did. When you have pride into something, you can create a lot of ridiculous comedic scenarios around that. And mixing and matching attitudes with other attitudes and with other things that you write down about yourself. And in doing that, you're going to come up with all kinds of scenarios that you'll be able to develop, like, some serious comedy around. Where's the gold in your material? So when you are doing and you're writing a material, you never know where the nuggets are, where the goal is. So you want to always keep a recorder, keep a note. Everybody has their own way of doing things. Like I'm going to show you kind of how I do my nugget capture. Okay, so on my phone I have notes. I guess I could put it here. Oh, you can't see it, but I have notes, and in notes I have my comedy material folder, and in my comedy material folder I will write down kind of like this. It's a it's the it's the topic of the joke, then the premise, and then the punchline of the joke. So I basically kind of dissect the material into a paradigm as if I'm going to do it on stage. So a lot of people just write. A lot of people write trigger words that remind them of the idea. I literally write the whole thing out word for word. And I write the setup and I write the punchline and if there's any tags. And this is basically how I do it. If it's an idea that I want to develop into a bit, then I'll write down the idea and then I'll come back later and develop that into a stand-up paradigm. So you want to have like some sort of a notepad,
Yeah.
or what I use is my smartphone. I use the notes section. Some people do a spreadsheet because they like to break it down and divide into things. Um, you write down your ideas. Like this has a microphone on it, so if I want to actually like talk into it, and it does the transcript for me.
Oh, that's cool.
And so the nuggets in your material, you want to definitely capture them, write them down, capture them, and then you can go back and you can figure out like how to make that
Oh, that's cool.
work.
Yeah. Oh, I pulled this up when I remember. I forgot if you brought it up or the losing the hair. And then we went from that to this.
Nice.
So my
That's awesome.
My hair used to be like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
I wish I had all of that.
Yeah, but it's been thinning, so like I cut it down and I just just gel it up now.
Exactly. That's how
And I just saw my grandpa yesterday. That motherfucker got more hair than this. I was like, what the fuck? Like, I lost that gene, I guess. I fucking got it from my other grandpa. But it just reminded me when you brought that thing of being 28 and losing it. Cause now I go like this, and some hair comes with my hand every time. I'm like, damn, like,
exactly.
then I do it again. Like,
So
my hair no more. Nobody touch my hair.
yeah.
So making it funny, it's all in the formula, and that's what we're going to go in this next section. What's the formula? The formula is going to be the setup and the punchline, the premise and the punchline, the tag after the punchline, and then another tag, and then a segue into the next topic. So a lot of times, if you find the punchline first, you can reverse engineer the setup or the premise around it.
Okay.
So a lot of things that hit your mind spontaneous that makes you laugh is 9 out of 10 times the punchline. So if you have an idea and you wake up and you laugh, you're laughing at the punch. So write that down first. Then reverse engineer how to get to that punchline without them beating you to it first.
Yeah.
So if they beat you to the punchline, you didn't do your job.
Exactly. Like how in the recent Dave Chappelle special, he told you he picked the word out of the jar.
Yeah.
And he started with that word and he told us the word. And then he went back and told us the story all the way through about the stovetop and everything. And then he hit it with it. So I kicked her in the pussy, you know?
Yeah.
And everybody busted up laughing. We was like, damn. He said, so I kicked her in the pussy. And we was like, okay. And then he went back and told the whole damn story, and we busted up laughing. It was like, genius.
Yeah. So this is the formula. This is the paradigm that you're going to live in. So everything that you're learning from soup to nuts lands right here. Because what this allows you to do is to write in a stand-up paradigm that allows you to get a laugh every 20 seconds. So that's the game, is your LPMs, laughs per minute. How many laughs are you getting in a minute? Now, Rodney Dangerfield, he would get like so many laughs a minute because he had these one-liners.
Yeah.
And he would just be like, bam, bam, bam. He'd have one line and then the punch, one line and then the punch. Well, you can get like 10 laughs in a minute when you're doing it that way, because each laugh, each setup and punchline is like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can just get laugh. Most comedians fall into this, where you have an idea that you introduce, you have the premise, the setup, and then you have the punchline, and then that's your first laugh. That could take 15 to 20 seconds.
Yeah.
So if you can get if you can get 3 laughs a minute for 6 straight minutes, you're pretty damn good. You're good. That's
Never
pretty.
timed myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like normal conversations, and they were like, "How?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"Ooh."
Yeah, and
Yeah, like that one.
and that's why it's good to record your set,
Yeah.
because sometimes, especially with a video, so when you record your set, you're looking for a couple of things. Number one, turn off the sound, and then just without any sound, do you just look funny?
Yes.
You know, it's like when you look at it, it's like, okay, I look funny. I know what I'm saying because I'm me and I said it. But just looking at it, if somebody were to sit next to me who didn't hear the set and look at that and be like, would they laugh at just how I'm talking and what my mannerisms are?
Yeah.
And then you turn up the sound, but then don't look at the video.
Yeah.
Now it's just kind of a comedy radio podcast show, and you can't see it. And do you sound funny? And can you visualize what you would look like if I could see you.
Yeah, like are you acting it out or anything?
Yeah.
Like that? Yeah.
So I'm hearing you on the radio, say Sirius Radio. I know you're in a live audience. I know people can see you. They're laughing at what they see,
Yeah.
but I'm driving my car. I can't see it. So what I'm projecting in my own third mind's eye is that image as funny as the people that are actually watching.
That happened to me one time. I think it was Kevin Hart special. I was listening to the audio clip, and I was when he grabbed a stool, and he was like, "I'm about to fuck the shit out of this stool in 15 seconds." And it's the audio clip, and I guess what he was doing on stage was funny. I later saw it, but for those like 10, 15 seconds where he's just doing stuff, you could hear everyone in there is laughing. But I'm like, cool. He just said he's gonna do that to the stool, and then I just hear nothing but laughing. But I don't know what he's doing. Like I couldn't get like the mental picture when I saw the actual stand up. I was like, that was hilarious. It's just I gave her like 3 seconds in each position. Didn't do shit. Make her feel like I did a whole lot. And I kind of get that, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's one of the ways you can evaluate like what you're doing is visual, no sound, sound, no visual, and then what you're actually saying. Does it need to be wordsmith? Do you need to switch out some words with funnier, phonetically sounding words?
Yeah.
Do you need to throw an accent in? Do you need to throw a voice in? So now you're going back and going, okay, where can I enhance the diversity in the phonetic sounds of the bit to kind of punch it up. Then there's the actual logic of it. Like, what are you actually saying that makes sense, or does it make sense with regards of the topic that you're talking about? So this paradigm allows you to dissect all of that in seconds, one joke at a time. And it also allows you to look at it and see if you want to squeeze it and make it a little tighter. There might be, maybe it's a little bit wordy. Maybe you can take this 20-second bit and squeeze it down to 10 seconds because you're extracting words. The only way you're going to know that is to put it in a paradigm and you can see it. The other thing too is a lot of comics will just write, but they don't write for themselves, like their own notes. They don't write, okay, the setup is here, the punchline is here, the laugh is here. And I encourage all of the comics that take my course and that do stand-up, write that out. Like, go ahead and say, setup, topic, premise, punchline, tag, audience laughs here. So when you are at a club where there's no audience, but you want to do your new material, so you're not going to get the laughs because there's no one there to laugh. But if you practice it as if they were there, and you know where they're supposed to laugh, you're going to pause and you're going to allow that space to fill with laughter. So let's say you do a set and it's brilliant writing. I mean, it's really good, but 2 people show up. And you're like, you know what, I'm just going to practice it anyway, but I'm going to practice it exactly how I wrote it. And then you go back and you look at it and like, this is really, really good. And then, I wonder what happens if I just add a canned laugh track to it like they did in the sitcoms. And you throw in just some canned laughter. And all of a sudden, that whole show takes on a completely different shape simply because you inserted laugh where they're supposed to be, because you allowed a space for laugh to go there. You didn't just do it and then step on it and then do it and step on it. That helps you develop your cadence and your timing, because you are allowing the whole paradigm to like play out in real time, including where the laughter is supposed to be. And if you know where the laughter, if you architected where the laughter is supposed to be, then when you do it, you're going to pause and let that laughter happen. Even if it doesn't, you know this is where it's supposed to go. And you want to try to get in the habit of doing that right from the beginning. Okay, so we are 1:53. So like at 2 o'clock, let's break for lunch, in like 7 minutes, and then we'll come back. Maybe after lunch we can do some Q&A if you guys have any questions about where we are, and then we'll go through some more.
Did you bring some of them snacks?
No, I ate them all.
Damn. All right. So I guess we're going Dutch.
Yeah.
I'll grab a menu and I'll see. There should be some stuff on there.
And I ate so much, I drank water for the next day, which was yesterday. I didn't even eat. I just drank water. I was like, man, I'm so full from this 3-4 day load up. And I was like, I'm gonna just drink water and I feel like I'm back to regular now.
Nah, I didn't. Shoot. Remember, I was scared to run away when I was little.
Yeah.
And it was just like, well, you ain't gonna never run away because you love your mama. I was like, nah, I love food. And if I run away, I can't eat, so I'm staying here. I'm staying here with the groceries.
I ran away when I was 3. I walked away because I woke up. The babysitter wasn't home. She had dropped off my sister to kindergarten, and I woke up and nobody was home. And I was like, well, I know Sandra down the street has a pool, so I walked over there. They found me at 4 p.m. There was like cops everywhere. My mom and dad were crying. I was just like, I was at the pool. Nobody was here. That house is better than this house. And
just rolled it.
Yeah, my mom was just crying. She was just happy. I was like, I think my babysitter got fired or something. I never saw her again after that. Yeah, I just woke up at the wrong time. She's like, you weren't supposed to wake up till 7 p.m. a.m. I was like, oh, yeah.
I'm a baby. I wake up when I feel like waking up,
Yeah, I toured the whole house. I was like, oh, I'm by myself. Fuck this house. I'm going to Sandra's.
All right, so workshop 16, condensing your setups. The good thing about that is you get more laughs per minute. So sometimes it's good to just go through your material and see where you can wordsmith it, to see where you can pull some words out, to see where you can get to like a laugh quicker. We're gonna take lunch at like 2 o'clock in 5 minutes.
Okay, because I'm hungry. I'm just kind of like slowly inching in.
Yeah.
No, I was agreeing from like the moment
Yeah,
you
like
went.
I'm just like my presence is coming like slowly.
Don't think I ain't smelled that great Italian cuisine.
The moment you stood up, I was like, that's the food stand right there.
Come on now, I'm getting, hangry.
All right, let me go through a couple more of these slides and then we'll break. Contrasting your setups. You want to make sure that your setup and your punchline have contrast so they don't beat you to the punch. Always try to, kind of keep them guessing. Don't give away your punchline and make it too obvious. And if you do, make sure the tags behind the punchline are surprises and are funny. So okay, I'm setting you up to get the punchline. I do it, and you were thinking it, you laugh, but then you come with a tag that they weren't even expecting.
Oh, look at it this way.
Yeah, and then you just kind of and then you do 2 or 3 more tags after that. So, contrasting your setup and your.
I keep misreading these words. I thought that said Apriliest, and I was like, that's the most April month. We're the Apriliest month of the year.
Using sarcasm with your outer self. That's another great tool in developing your material. I like doing that. Making comparisons when you are saying something about yourself or your material and you compare it to something else. And then that comparison is something that's super ridiculous. Yeah. That's another good way where you can get some material going. Similes and metaphors. If you listen to a lot of comedians, 85% of the comedians that are doing material live in this slide. If you notice, it's like they either are doing a metaphor where they are the object or they're comparing themselves to the object. And when you exaggerate that to the ridiculous, that's when the more ridiculous you can exaggerate in the metaphor, the funnier it is. So this slide here is a really, really important slide for you to always keep on your forefront when you're writing and developing stuff.
I forgot who I was talking to, but they said I like your analogy or something like that. So that would be kind of like a simile, an analogy.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
a simile, what is you comparing you
Yes.
to being like something, and an
Yes.
analogy would be what?
Yeah. What that would be? Is that me? What's today? Tuesday? Okay. Just make sure I didn't have anything.
So I'm not answering if it's Wednesday.
If it's Wednesday, I'm not
Yeah.
picking up. Hey, Alvin, how you doing? I'm in my comedy workshop right now. What do you need? Did you need anything?
So then you compare different stuff, and you sit there and you look at comedians, you see them and you look at them, and you're like, okay, this person has this style, this person has this style, and sometimes you might think, man, I had the same idea.
Where did I find
we can
it?
get
I
one
think I
word,
found that on your.
have the same word, but come up with two totally different ways to write a joke or create the joke.
Oh, that's on my LinkedIn.
But with the same word.
Yeah.
But with the same word. And so this is how you see it,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah,
what they
I want
see.
to.
And we can be
it's
like,
gonna.
you know,
It's
the
gonna
word,
be
like barbershop. So when you think of barbershop,
broadcast or live
you have
streams
your
that's
own
coming.
things that come to mind when you think of barbershop. Just like I have my own thing to think about or deliver when I say barbershop. My thing was, going to the barber college. And
It's also
two
on my
things
YouTube
you never
channel.
want to hear a barber say is, oops. Or be like, damn. And you're like, that is like that will make you nervous. You be like, hey man, what you do, man? What you do? You know, and if he say nothing, you be like, I know you lying. I know you lying. Something that's in there. You got me a nick or something, or my hairline's jacked up.